Folks, if you'll look right up here above my head over here, we've got 5 days, 14 hours, 20 minutes, and 26 seconds actual live counter as to how long before Election Day starts. I'm talking about November 5th, the day we take our country back. Probably won't be final results on the November 5th because a couple of states are already saying they're going to have slow counting issues. I hate to hear that because we know how that crap works. Pardon my language. But at any rate, this is just a reminder to everybody to go vote if you haven't voted already. You see my shirt here? Got my little sticker. Oh, wrong side. It says I voted. Me and my wife went and voted earlier today. And just a proud moment in my life to see so many people that care about their country that they decided to be a part of this great American experiment called picking a better politician. Um, Happens every 2 years, every 4 years, and people should be more motivated and activated to vote every time. And we probably wouldn't be in the shape that we're in between the lying media and the lack of interest in the state of the country has got us to a point where the Democrats have about run us into the ground. No doubt about it. Over the last 20 years, not just the last 3.5 years, over the last 20 years, with the exception of Trump being there. But I had several clips I wanted to bring to y'all today. There has been a great ruling from the Supreme Court today involving the state of Virginia. But this ruling will be good in all states because when the U.S. Supreme Court makes a ruling on something involving a state, usually it applies as a rule for every state as a standard. I guess that's the best way to put that. So we've got some great news because we're going to be contesting the election in Pennsylvania, whether Trump wins it or Kamala Harris wins it. There's already been some shenanigans happening in Pennsylvania, enough so that we've got to look at the whole thing when it's all over. It actually probably going to need to be audited. I hate to say that, but that's what we're looking at. No matter what, just because we want to find the shenanigans, how they manipulate the system, and prevent it from ever happening again, no matter how the results go this time, needs to be looked into for sure. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, what happened is Virginia decided to clean up their voter rolls and found out there were 1,600 people that were illegally on the voter rolls. Non-citizens shouldn't have been on the voter rolls. They give them a couple of weeks to notify. They sent them out a letter, give them a couple of weeks to notify the election offices if they were citizens, and this was maybe a screw up on somebody's end. Give them time to clarify. After a couple of weeks, they're knocked off the voter rolls. Well, the Democrat Party in the state sued to make sure that these illegals stayed on the voter rolls. You believe that? The Department of Justice is even trying to get in on that. Well, because of that, it went down like that. The Supreme Court it got appealed to the Supreme Court Justice of the United States from the Supreme Court of Virginia. So this is unprecedented ruling, folks. This will affect a lot of the, not just outcomes, but if we decide we're going to check into the numbers of these tallies in several states, if not all states, when it's all said and done, like an audit, we will need to have this ruling that we got today, which says if you're illegal, you have no right to vote. And that's basically what this ruling has put the hammer down on today, and I'm sure the Democrats are unhappy as to be about it because this thing's been in the courts for several months now, just trying to get some resolution, and we finally got it today. Now, the Supreme Court may take a couple more election rulings over the next couple of days. I don't know, but there are several things on their docket that are a possibility involving issues like this in several states. But at least the illegals being on the voter rolls can be kicked off, set precedents for every state that wants to get it done, has to get it done, or needs to take them off the rolls after the fact. Hopefully that will set up that kind of litigation as well. Now, we'll go ahead and get into it. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Here we go.
Virginia will be allowed to resume its purge of voter registrations. Remember, the governor said that there were some 1,600 who were admitted non-citizens. David Spunk's live with that in D.C. What's the word, David? Hello.
Well, this is significant, and this is a controversial issue in Virginia. And while it's dealing with only 1,600 voters or so, it's something that could have national implications as we are now less than a week away. So Governor Glenn Youngkin signed an executive order back in August. The Department of Justice sued Youngkin, saying that he can't toy with executive orders and taking people off voter rolls within 90 days of an election. It violates federal law. Governor Youngkin says that some 1,600 people did not present their citizenship status. They are non-citizens of the United States, and they should not be able to vote. The Justice Department said some of them did not properly fill out a DMV form. They skipped over a box, or some became citizens later, resulting in actual U.S. citizens being removed from the rolls in error. So the Supreme Court ruling on that today. These are the states right now where legal challenges currently exist. Many are battleground states. In North Carolina, a federal appeals court ruled the state Republican Party's effort to question some 225,000 ballots must stay in federal court, not move to state court. That's a temporary win for Democrats there. In Pennsylvania, the Supreme Court expected to rule about provisional ballots there. Now, while the justices are busy, the court did cross off one case, or if you will, two cases yesterday. Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s name will remain on the ballot in Michigan and Wisconsin, though he wanted to take it off after endorsing former President Trump. Even though he's no longer a candidate, people can still vote for him in those cases. The High Court also involved in several.
Now, you do know the backstory to that. Robert F. Kennedy had to fight to get on the ballot as an independent in several states, including Michigan, Wisconsin, all these swing states up north that didn't want him on the ticket because they were afraid he was going to hurt Biden at the time. Well, then he does get on the ticket. As soon as he gets on the ticket, and they realize he realizes he's not going to win, and he sides with Trump. Well, they start suing him to keep him on the ballot. They went from suing him to keep him off the ballot to suing him to keeping him on the ballot. These Democrats are flip-floppity as can be, trying to get an edge, and it's not working very well. Even though this ruling ruled against Robert F. Kennedy, I think most people will vote for Trump this time, knowing that Robert F. Kennedy is not going to be our president. At least I think most people know that at this point. Hope so.
Pre-election cases. Both campaigns have said they've recruited Bill and Dana thousands of lawyers across the country, some on a volunteer basis for pre- and post-election fights. One concern, getting the pace of the results in. In many states, if you cast a ballot early, it can be counted early, but not in 6 states, including the swing state of Pennsylvania, where everyone's watching. Officials there cannot even open the ballots until Election Day, so the results may not be known in Pennsylvania for days. State officials in Pennsylvania say nothing nefarious about that. Back to you.
So we'll try and make all that clear as mud come election night for our viewers watching at home, too. Thank you, David. Nice to see you.
For more on this, Andy McCarthy is a former assistant U.S. attorney and a Fox News contributor.
We're good with that. I just wanted to let y'all know that was the breaking story. That the Supreme Court did rule that non-citizen voters can be purged off the rolls. So in theory, if we find out that these elections was only won by a few thousand people, say in any particular state, like last time, and they want to do some kind of a Maricopa County type audit, and actually first thing they look for is non-citizens on the voter rolls, because they were allowed up to this point, even though they were doing it illegally. Of course they should be purged, whether it's done in the advance like it should be done right now, or during, or after. It doesn't really make a difference as long as they come off the rolls before the final tally's done. I think what will happen is these states will be so close in certain states that they will probably contest the election. And when they do, they will be forced to do recounts and things. And then we will find the non-citizens on the voter rolls. This will make up some difference. I don't know if it'll be enough of a difference, but there's going to be some of these type of shenanigans that go down, no doubt about it. But at least we've got a great Supreme Court ruling today. Sets precedent for the whole idea of illegals don't get to count as a legal vote. And so if they're allowed to be purged in advance, they should be allowed to be purged at any point in time, considering they're not citizens and don't have the legal right to vote. Now, if you haven't missed Steve Bannon while he's been gone, I have. I watched quite a bit of Steve Bannon, and his daughter's been taking it over the war room for him, and another girl named Miss Winter and his daughter and a few others have basically just taken over Real America's Voice for him. So they haven't missed a beat. But now he's back. Got out of jail Tuesday morning. Glorious moment. I'm glad they finally let him out. They let him out actually about a week after his due date to get out. I guess just to be assholes. But he's got one of the greatest, one really great reporter on here with him. His name is Jack Sobek. You don't know Jack Sobek? Super intelligent, great journalistic skills, investigative reporter skills, and got a huge channel over here on Twitter and Rumble. But him and Steve are discussing the state of the country, us being called garbage by Joe Biden, which I'm sure everybody's heard that at this point. And what about Pennsylvania? All right, let's get into it. I've been missing me some Steve Bannon, so I figure I'll share some Steve Bannon with y'all if y'all don't watch this guy. They have definitely got their finger on the pulse as to what's going on. And he said he is more alive, exhilarated, and ready to rock and roll when it comes time to take care of business with the Trump campaign. Putting him in jail hasn't killed his resolve at all. If anything, it's only strengthened his resolve, is what he said yesterday. Glad to hear it.
In ballots, in ballot boxes, and particularly since Tuesday, early voting winds down, we need a mass mobilization on Tuesday. And I just think, Charlie Kirk gets, I talked to Charlie Kirk last night. You guys at Turning Point are all over it. I know you are, but give us the framework here. Where do we stand? We're all garbage. 60 million Americans or 74 million, 75 million Americans voted for Trump last time are garbage. Where do we stand in all this?
Well, Steve, look, we're garbage piled up to the top of our heads, but you know what? We're going to be dumping the garbage on November 5th because November 5th is nationwide trash day, and this MAGA trash is going to be taking out you, Joe Biden, and Kamala Harris, and everyone else, because that's what we've decided. All the white trash and the brown trash and the black trash, we're going to unite, and we're going to be taking out you. Now, here's where we stand. North Carolina, Georgia, Nevada, Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin, all of those early vote states will end this coming weekend, Saturday, Saturday, Sunday, depending on your state. Go and check, see which state you end. In the state of Pennsylvania, the Commonwealth, my beloved Commonwealth, in a few areas, early voting ended yesterday, but in a few areas, early voting will actually be extended. So because of the massive size of President Trump's rally in Allentown, Pennsylvania yesterday, the heart of Lehigh County has now extended their early vote deadline 1 day. So you can still go and vote early in person today in Lehigh County. And I'm hearing some rumblings out of Bucks County that we might be getting a decision today based on all of the chicanery and the massive disruptions that we saw in Doylestown and Quakertown yesterday in Bucks County. And all of this happening, by the way, on little Governor Josh Shapiro's watch, with now we're also seeing fake election officials, Democrats, walking around with badges saying that they're election officials and portraying themselves as election officials when they're clearly not. It's voter intimidation. This is something that the DOJ put a consent decree on the GOP for 40 years ago in New Jersey. It's completely illegal. Josh Shapiro, absolutely silent. Look, at the end of the day, all of the early votes are the shaping operation for what's to come on 5 November. They are the shaping operation for one, and this is the early votes, this is your airstrikes, this is your special forces, the shaping operation to winnow down the firewall that the Democrats have been trying to build. And they wanted 400,000 in Pennsylvania. They're under it. They didn't make their votes. They're only at 385. The same deal with the rest of the other six swing states. So what do? We have to mobilize the millions and millions of Republican voters that have not yet voted. That's your infantry. Those are, and I'm talking about the Michigan regiment, the Wisconsin regiment, the Pennsylvania regiment. It's now time to get out there. And for the members of the posse, you must be the force multipliers. I'm not just saying get out and vote. I'm saying make sure your neighbors are getting out and voting. Make sure you can bring them to the polls if you have to. Make sure you're there to provide with food, with water, with whatever else you need. And that's right, in Pennsylvania, we say water. Whatever else they need to make sure that they get out there. If someone needs assistance, you're the person who's giving them assistance. You're the force multiplier, whatever's legal. And, of course, if you see any issues, they say see something, say something. I say no. Get your camera out, get your smartphone, If you see something, screen something, film it, get it out there. And just on the last note with President Biden referring to Trump supporters as garbage, excuse me, we've already seen one Act Blue donor earlier this year. Steve, you were away when this happened, but an Act Blue donor climbed on top of a building in Butler, Pennsylvania, shot President Trump in the head, tried to blow his head off on live TV, and murdered a Trump supporter who was a firefighter named Corey Compatore, sitting there in the stands defending his wife, defending his daughters. And don't tell me for a second that this kind of language is acceptable in American politics from an office such as the President of the United States.
He's right, you know, Corey Compatore, it's not garbage. People at the Trump rallies are not garbage. We're not Hitler. We're not Hitler sycophants. We're not Nazis. We're not none of these names they keep calling us. It's just a sad situation. They're desperate. They've about run out of things to call Trump at this point. I'm surprised they haven't upgraded to he's the Antichrist. I haven't heard that one yet, but I'm surprised it hasn't been brought through. But I just thought I'd bring you a little bit of Jack So Steve Bannon from the War Room. Glad to see Steve Bannon is back. Now, I've got several short little clips here I want to bring to y'all today. Actually, just some tweets over here. A few of them are just tweets. It says, Pennsylvania is cheating and getting caught at large-scale levels rarely seen before. Report cheating to authorities. Law enforcement must act now, says Trump over on the Truth Social. Got several of these, folks. We'll go through them pretty quick. Glad y'all showed up today. Glad to have some listeners actually come join the channel and hear what Shannon's got to say some days. It says, hold on, I think this is the one about Kevin O'Leary. Now, we're going to skip this one, folks. Kevin O'Leary says he hopes that Elon Musk releases the hounds on the government, gets rid of government waste like nobody ever has before. First time it'll ever be done in history. And he's looking forward to it. It's just a meme that I put out there. Deplorable, Nazis, garbage. We've been called all three this week. Do you feel any different inside? Or does it motivate you to go vote? I voted anyway, no matter what the name calling is. Actually, I hope it incentivizes some of these people to get up and get pissed off and show up because they're tired of being called names, among having our economy destroyed as well. Like I said, I got a few of these I want to show y'all today. Just sharing some of the things. Here we go. If you vote illegal, you're going to jail. That's my favorite tweet of the week right there. You have been warned. Now, everybody, I know what I want for Christmas, but I want it in November, if you know what I'm saying. And do y'all remember when Kamala Harris said, "How dare you say Merry Christmas?" Well, I feel, folks, we're fixing to get a very Merry Christmas. Hopefully in a few days. I don't think it'll be fully decided on the 5th unless Trump blows it out so big that he has won before all the states get their numbers in, which is possible. All he's got to do is get over 270, which he's predicted to get about 312. He's at 67% in the poly markets, which is a good decider of the pulse of the nation as far as what bettors think, what the gambling odds are that Trump's going to win, 67 to 32. I think Elon Musk and ALX predicted 69 points for Trump for the win by the 5th, and they're almost there. All right, folks, let's get into another one. Now, speaking of Merry Christmas, y'all remember when Kamala said this?
Merry Christmas, everybody. I know this is a very different Christmas than we're used to.
Y'all remember when she said that? Well, we're fixing to have a Merry Christmas in November, Kamala. So she wasn't allowed to say Merry Christmas. How dare you say Merry Christmas? I thought that was the catchphrase here. There we go. You know it, folks. Here we go.
How dare we speak Merry Christmas? How dare we?
You're going to be saying Merry Christmas again. Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy New Year. Happy holidays.
I don't want a lot for Christmas. There is just one thing I need. Don't care about the presents underneath the Christmas tree. I don't need to hang my stocking there upon the fireplace. Santa Claus will make me happy with a toy on Christmas Day. I just want you for my own, more than you could ever know. Make my wish come true. All I want for Christmas is you.
How dare we speak Merry Christmas? How dare we?
You're going to be saying Merry.
Going to be saying Merry Christmas very soon, folks. I hopefully, God willing, everybody's efforts, the surge, the polls, the hard work of everybody on these campaigns on the Republican side, including these RNC workers and the volunteers, the poll watchers, the poll workers. Trump for spending the last 58 days on the campaign trail without a break, and all the podcasters and people out here communicating, sharing, spreading the truth, adding the comments, keeping this thing going with every news story that breaks that supports our parties need to win, and being able to document history in the making, folks. This is the great American experiment, trying to elect somebody who will do right by your country. And that's why I appreciate the voting more than I guess a lot of people. It is so very important. If you don't know, and if there's anybody out here that has not voted yet, go vote. If you don't go vote now, early voting is about over in most states. Last chance, November 5th. We've got 5 days, 14 hours, and let's see, let me find the counter. Here we go. Let me see, where's it at? I guess I lost it, but you get the picture, folks. It's 5 days to go. We're out of there. Or should I say, Kamala's out of there. Like, subscribe, and share. Devoted Patriots. Hope everybody had a great day. Over and out.